Much so, Catherine, so much to ask you about, but just on the top of the question is, what do you think are the judge's options today here?
Well, first I want to say that the government did those comments yesterday. The government put a link to the video of that press conference yesterday in the filing that they filed yesterday. And in
so
that
it's
filing,
on the record.
It's on the record. They even quoted the president of El Salvador saying he can't smuggle a terrorist into the United States. And of course, he's not going to do it, meaning return Mr. Garcia. And our government is going to hang on that press conference and what came out the mouth of the El Salvadoran president. The judge is actually constrained by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's decision was really, to use a legal term, loosey-goosey.
Okay, can I ask you a question on that? Because there is an overlap, or maybe not an overlap, but there is a cause and then an effect reaction, this judge and what the Supreme Court decided. Can you kind of clear up one of those, both of those aspects?
The Supreme Court rules. They're the highest court in the land. And they made a point of saying in their decision that her use,
on this case,
use of the term effectuate in the district court's order is unclear and may exceed the district court's authority. So the Supreme Court now instead uses the term facilitate. Effectuate means make it happen. Facilitate means make it easier for it to happen. So that's the United States Supreme Court said that. And the Supreme Court also said that the judge has to have due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. So that's what the United States government is hanging on to, that the judge really didn't direct them to effectuate and bring Mr. Garcia back. They said facilitate. A.G. Bondi, we didn't play that clip. She said yesterday that if El Salvador wants to return him, we will facilitate it by providing a plane. So the judge is really constrained by that decision by the Supreme Court.
You say it's wishy-washy in so many ways, but does the Supreme Court ruling say, just for breaking it down to us, return him?
I would argue that saying facilitate his release from custody means the United States has to make it easier. The Supreme Court did not like the term effectuate, which means make it happen. But facilitate means make it easier for him to return. But they're going to hang the United States government on what El Salvador president said yesterday. The only one who asked him a direct question about returning him was a reporter. So no one in that room, including the president of the United States, said, will you please return him?
Alexei, is this a fight the Trump administration wants to have, you think? I mean, what do they see as the upside here?
I mean, we know that they love fighting, and more than that, they love being defiant and kind of redefining words and laws and citizenship in this country. What we saw yesterday from President Bukele was certainly a power play or a power move, but it was one that we, through President Trump, handed him on a silver platter by deporting our own people and refusing to protect our own citizens from deportation to a country that they don't even belong to. This is a fight that Trump wants because he has been railing against immigration. He made mass deportations a centerpiece of his campaign in this last cycle. And I think that people took him seriously, but maybe not literally. And we are seeing what the literal interpretation of that mass deportation strategy is and how far they're willing to fight and twist words and lie to make it a reality.
Alexei, I think it's important that we underline that the president has talked about, as recently as yesterday in his meeting with Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, his thoughts about possibly one day sending U.S. citizen criminals, according to the president, to this Secot prison. But so far, all of the people, the hundreds of people that have been sent to Secot from the United States were not U.S. citizens. And so the question is, this is a fight that the White House, what is their upside here, Alexei?
Well, the upside, I think, is the raw politics of it. And honestly, reconstructing this country, who belongs, who's considered a quote unquote real American and who is not. It is, again, something that President Trump has hung his entire legacy on. But now with the likes of Stephen Miller and others supporting him, aiding and abetting every wish, of course, this is something they want for raw politics, legacy, securing, and also, frankly, they have a very clear vision of who this country is, who Americans are, what we should and shouldn't look like. And it looks a lot more like them than it does like us on this panel.